Good evening. My name is Ann Monroe. I'm Assistant Dean, Director of Assessment, and Associate Professor of Teacher Education for the School of Education. Thank you all for coming to the induction ceremony this afternoon. This is an exciting time for you as we celebrate your decision to become a teacher. Teaching is one of the most important and consequential professions. Teachers are committed to the social, emotional, and intellectual development of children. The job brings many challenges and responsibilities, but also much joy and satisfaction. We celebrate your decision to become a teacher. I want to introduce Dr. David Roth, Dean of the School of Education at the University of Mississippi. Dr. Roth received his Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics from Vanderbilt University, a master's and doctoral degree in mathematics from the University of Central Florida. Dr. Roth taught mathematics in Florida and Mississippi at the middle and high school levels. He was a professor and coordinator of secondary education at the University of Mississippi from 1998 to 2004, and the chair of the Department of Education at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth. Prior to his return to Ole Miss, he was Dean of the College of Education and Health Professions at Columbus State University in Columbus, Georgia. Dr. Roth has published numerous articles in the area of mathematics and co-authored 15 books, including Teaching Secondary Mathematics and Scratch Your Brain Where It Itches. He is married to a former elementary teacher and has 4 children. He is a wonderful leader for all of us in the School of Education, and he is committed to developing educators who imagine equality and excellence through innovative practice and collaboration. Dr. Roth always seeks to see educators who inspire professionalism, transformation, and leadership in the field of education. Please join me in welcoming Dr. David Roth.
It is my pleasure to welcome you to this exciting event hosted by the School of Education at the University of Mississippi for our future teachers. We are here to honor over 250 inductees who will be entering the next phase of their professional career as part of this teacher induction ceremony. I want each person watching the ceremony to remember, without the teaching profession, all other professions would not be possible. Thank you again for being here.
Next, we have the Chair of Teacher Education and Professor of Leadership and Counselor Education, Dr. Susan Mcclellan. Dr. Susan Mcclellan is a lifelong educator. She began her career as a special education and secondary English teacher. After completing her PhD, she transitioned into instructional leadership, serving as an assistant principal, and assistant superintendent. In 2005, Dr. Mcclellan came to the University of Mississippi as Assistant Professor of Educational Leadership and the Director of the Principal Corps. Dr. Mcclellan is a wife, mother, and grandmother. Please welcome Dr. Susan Mcclellan.
Good evening. I want to welcome you to this special induction ceremony where we honor your decision to become a teacher. Teaching is an honorable field in which you have the opportunity to touch the lives of children and make a significant impact on their futures. So I congratulate you on your decision. Just as we celebrate your decision, we want to welcome and celebrate one of Mississippi's best. Tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing you to Ms. Hannah Gad Audrey, who is the 2019-2020 Mississippi Teacher of the Year. And she teaches music history and choir right here at Lafayette Middle and High School in Oxford, Mississippi. At the University of Mississippi, she was an active member of the Ole Miss Concert Singers, Ole Miss Women's Glee Club, Sigma Alpha Iota International Music Fraternity, a Pride of the South Marching Band member, a Lucky Day Scholar, and the music chair for Phi Beta Pi Women's Fraternity. She graduated cum laude from the University of Mississippi in 2013 with a bachelor's in music and vocal music education. She received her Master of Music degree in choral conducting at the University of Mississippi in 2015, and she is currently pursuing an educational specialist in educational leadership at William Carey University. For her significant and lasting contributions to the field of music education at Lafayette High School here in Oxford, Mississippi, she is the 2021 Grammy Music Educator Award quarter finalist. A total of 216 music teachers from 199 cities are quarter finalists for the Grammy Music Educator Award, presented by the Recording Academy and Grammy Museum. I know you all will learn so much from listening to our speaker tonight, and you will help me welcome Mrs. Audrey.
Thank you so much, Dr. McClellan. I want to thank you all for letting me be here tonight to speak with you. Thank you, Dean Rock and Miss Monroe, for getting everything together. This has been a year in the works, so I'm so excited to be here. I want to start by sending a congratulations and best wishes to all of the inductees. I know that reaching this milestone in your academic career is a momentous achievement. I'm honored to be celebrating you and your accomplishments today. I'm sure we've all heard this saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, that's false, because if you love what you do, you never stop working. A student also gave me a gift this past Christmas that says, I don't teach for the income, I teach for the outcome. You're here today because someone believed in you and they could see the outcome of your work ethic. You're here today because you chose to commit your life to serving others. Maybe you chose to become a teacher with aspirations of inspiring young people. Maybe you want to be the person who is assigning the homework instead of doing the homework. Maybe you don't have a reason yet, and that's okay. From this point forward, you will wear many name tags and hold various titles. Your friends and family will seek you out, wanting to know the newest trend or the hip new lingo. Your identity will no longer be as easily defined as a student, daughter, son, or friend. Your new name might be Miss Trailer or Mr. Smith, teachers that love literature. Maybe you'll be Coach Jones or Coach Sarah, a role model for scholar athletes. Being a teacher is a big responsibility, and it requires you to be a role model. Just like roles in a movie, you will learn to play many roles in your classroom. You will be a counselor, a guardian, nurse, confidant, listener, and comedian. And most of the time, you'll play all of these roles in one day. I don't say these things to intimidate you or to remind you how much of an impact you will have on the lives of others, but I say this to remind you that being a teacher isn't a new title, because it's one that you've had pretty much your entire life. You see, you don't have to be inside of the classroom to be a teacher. Teachers are all around us. Think about if someone taught you to ride a bike or to change a spare tire. What about the first time you learned to tie your shoe or learn to scramble eggs? I'd be willing to bet that you didn't learn these things inside of school. Have you ever taught anyone how to do any of these things? Well, whether you realized it or not, you became a teacher in that very moment. In my family, I'm well versed in all of those things because my mom was a teacher. And really, in my family, there are three things that you can be. You can be a mechanic, a farmer, or a teacher. That's just what we do. And I didn't want to be any of those. I originally started my education at Ole Miss as a biology major because I wanted to save lives and change the world and shape hearts and minds through medicine. Well, biology wasn't that fun for me. And if you don't like what you're majoring in, you're not going to like doing that for the rest of your life. So I finally gave in, and I had a decision to make. I didn't like getting dirty, so I wasn't going to be a mechanic. I cried when I sold my first cow in kindergarten, so I knew that the farming life wasn't for me. So I decided, what is one thing that has been a constant in my life? And it was education. After graduating from Ole Miss with my master's degree, I ended up landing a job at the same school where I completed my student teaching. After a summer filled with excitement, anxiety, and all the emotions, I walked into my classroom. It was so awesome. I was ready to make a difference, and I was ready to make an impact on students' lives. When I was in band at Ole Miss, Mr. Wilson used to always say, bring a poncho, bring a poncho, bring a poncho, because in the classroom, when it rains, it pours. And I ended my first day of teaching with 2 parent phone calls, a student saying that she did not like me, and on top of it all, I made 2 students cry. Just letting you know from experience, there's nothing more spiritually cleansing than the unconsolable tears of teenage girls. During my quest for world peace and changing students' lives, I forgot to think about the most important thing, my students. Sure, I was saying that I was thinking about them, but really I was just thinking about what I wanted to do, not what they could do. I went home and cried for hours and I thought I was the worst teacher. I'm so thankful for that experience on my first day because it taught me that you can't learn from a textbook. You learn by doing. And I learned that the power of us before I will always trump anything just about me. Making students feel defeated is one of the cardinal sins of teaching. And I sinned really hard on my first day of school. But that's okay because I came back to school the next day and the next, and I got better. And I put them first from day one. And honestly, it may take 8 months to see that student's light bulb go off. It took 8 months for me to help a student learn to match pitch for the first time. But that wait, so worth it. In my experience, students will learn you before they learn the content you're teaching. And so learning to build trust with children or with angsty teenagers is a lot easier than you may think. If you get to know your students and let them get to know you, you will build relationships so easily. What I do in my classroom and what I hope that you might consider doing in yours one day is learning your students' names before the first day of school. When students walk into my classroom, I say, "Good morning, Olivia." And they will turn to me and they will say, "How do you know me?" And instantly, that's the connection. Because you know a name, you know them, you know me, you know that I am a person. I do this every year and I have between 150 and 180 students. Yes, it takes time. Yes, I'm a hopeless romantic for education and I believe that you need to learn every student's name before the first day. And that's what works for me. It is an awesome experience to be able to see a child and look at them in the eye and for them to say, "You already know me." When really that's just a start of a beautiful student-teacher relationship. Like a child has a unique name, music can also be used as a tool to understand and connect with each student's social and emotional needs. With music, or really any subject, you can reach a student that may be in survival mode 24/7. You can teach the unteachable. Sometimes you will hear these referred to as bad children. There's no difference between a bad student and a good student because no parent says, "I'm only sending my bad children to school today. My good ones, keeping them at home." Parents send their very best to you every single day, and it is up to you to see what motivates that child and what you can do to make that child see what you see in them. As a music teacher, I use music in a lot of different ways. I use it as a motivator. I use it as a way for stress relief for my students. But if you think about it, I use it as a way to make a connection. From weddings to funerals to learning how to spell, music impacts everybody. And I tell my students who are 7th graders through 12th graders that the word music may have an I in it, but you can't spell music without putting us before I. Just like any school, any field, whether you're special education, whether you are elementary or secondary education, you will learn that what you do in the classroom impacts everyone. I use music in my classroom to gain perspective, and it lets me walk a mile in someone else's shoes. Someone's shoes may be dirty, too small, too big, but music fits everybody. And learning allows us to see the good in people and their strengths, not their weaknesses. I feel like I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't remind you of the duties you have of a future educator. Yes, you work long hours and you are rewarded with tons of Christmas candy, but you can't forget to take time for yourself. You will give your students your very best every day, but remember that you can't pour from an empty cup. You need to take a break every now and that's okay. One of our biggest mistakes as teachers is forgetting that it's okay to take a break. It's forgetting to focus on yourself. According to the U.S. Department of Education, over 50% of teachers leave the profession within the first 5 years on the job. And that's not surprising, because a lot of times new teachers feel like they're on an island, they're isolated, they're by themselves. But no, you are not alone. You will never be alone. The best person you can contact is the person down the hall, maybe an old professor, the School of Education. You are not doing this by yourself. Reach out to me, reach out to other people in the field. Teaching is a collaborative effort. You shouldn't feel like you're by yourself. Ole Miss has a ton of free resources that I hope you take advantage of during the rest of your time there. They have amazing counselors at the Ole Miss Counseling Center. I met with one in grad school, and it was my safe space where I could just vent about forgetting my lunch, or I could really just get to know myself a little bit better. Because if you don't know you and trust yourself, how do you expect students to do the same? It's okay to be in work in progress. If that means going to therapy, great. If that means going to a study session, or if that means going to observe teachers, go for it. Don't be afraid. Carol Burnett said, "Only I can change my life and no one else can do it for me." And as a teacher, you'll learn a lot of life lessons, and you'll embrace the fact that you won't get paid a lot of money, but you will spend a ton of what you do make buying class supplies, snacks, hygiene products. And you're probably excited about the summer vacation, but let me remind you that teachers work an average of 400 unpaid hours of overtime in the school year. That's an extra 4 hours a day. But remember, when you love what you do, you never stop working. This doesn't even begin to count the hours that you will think about your students, and you will listen to a song on the radio and think, oh my goodness, that would be great for a concert. Or you'll see a poster in the doctor's office and think, wow, that would be great to incorporate into my classroom management strategy. You will be traveling to conferences, prepping for the upcoming year. And the best part about the summer is you get to eat and go to the bathroom whenever you want. Enjoy that now. After I was selected the 2019-2020 Mississippi Teacher of the Year, people kept telling me what a great honor it was. But no one saw me spend my entire Christmas break compiling lots and lots of information and submitting a 28-page application. I spent weeks editing and revising, writing 4 essays, collecting letters of support. And nobody saw me crying myself to sleep after I thought I bombed my interview. I was convinced that I was the worst, because when you think about it, you are your own worst critic. And if you don't like yourself, then how will your students like you? No one saw me typing an acceptance speech for an award that I thought I was never going to get. I was just happy to be there. And honestly, I felt like I was in a pageant. I didn't know that I had won until my name was called on stage in front of all the district teachers of the year in the state. I 10 out of 10 do not recommend that experience to anyone. It was terrifying. And I know it's an honor to be recognized for the hard work and the heart work that I put into each day and to each of my students. But very seldom do I go home thinking that I'm a good teacher, much less a great teacher. I always think, what could I have done better? I think about my students and think, oh my gosh, maybe I could have done this to help them. Maybe that's why they weren't getting that. I really take pride in what I do, but I also realize that I don't know everything, and I will never know everything. Being a teacher, that means you are committed to being a lifelong learner, and it's okay to not have the answers. Don't try and pretend like you know everything in front of teenagers or young children. You've been warned. Throughout your career, you will have situations that challenge you, that excite you and frustrate you. And as my husband, who's also a teacher, says, there's a fine line between parental involvement and parental interference. And I want to tell you now that you can't make everyone happy. You can't make parents happy, but you have to do what's best for your students. I've had parents call me every name but a child of God, but it is your job to help students fall in love with learning. One of my favorite musicians, Kendrick Lamar, said, although the butterfly and the caterpillar are completely different, they are one and the same. All students need time to grow. I want you to reflect on how you are not only going to help yourself grow, but how you're going to grow your students to where you want them to be. Start thinking about your teaching philosophy. What does an equitable classroom look like? How can all students grow in your classroom? What is your why? Why are you doing this work? Really put yourself into the shoes of students in your classroom and think how you would want to learn and how you could be your best self. As the Chinese proverb says, tell me and I forget, show me and I remember, involve me and I understand. And if you were to ever come to my classroom, which I hope all of you do, but not at one time, as a part of my student-centered teaching philosophy, I encourage student-led programs because I believe that building independence and building this value for citizenship is key to making successful people. I allow students to conduct during class, during concerts, students lead sectionals, and I try and make my classroom a safe space for everybody. It's organized chaos at times, but giving students the opportunity to create, think independently, and work together makes it all worth it. Because remember, learning is messy, and I wouldn't have it any other way. John Dewey said that education is not preparation for life, but education is life itself. Our most important job is to create productive members of society. And I believe that music, personally, here's an acronym, education, we love our acronyms, can help us motivate, understand, and sculpt independent citizens. The majority of your students will grow up to be productive citizens in society, working jobs in multiple professions. But I hope that you get to help your students discover their passion. Remember that everyone in your classroom, they're going to grow up to be teachers, whether or not they teach inside of a classroom or they're teaching their child how to ride a bike. You have the next generation of leaders in your classroom right now. As William Faulkner says, in order to understand the world, you must first understand a place like Mississippi. And I would be remiss if I didn't put a ton of music things in here because I'm just giddy about what I do, and truly teaching is my dream job, which it took me a long time to figure that out, by the way. Without artists like Big Mama Thornton, Muddy Waters, and Robert Johnson, the music that we listen to wouldn't have been developed. The preservation of Mississippi's rich cultural heritage is slowly disintegrating with the abandonment of fine arts programs in schools. And if we fail to teach students how to appreciate their history and be proud of their state, then what will these students teach their children? I want people to know that Mississippi helps make independent citizens, that Mississippi is a great place to teach, a great place to work and live and raise a family. B.B. King once said that the beautiful thing about learning is that no one can take it away from you. And I want to tell you that you will always be learning. Don't afraid to try something and get out of your comfort zone. Wayne Gretzky and Michael Scott once said that you miss all the shots that you don't take. And failure and success are all based on perception. So remember, if you set your expectations along the same lines of perfection, then you will always fail because no one is perfect. If you take things slowly in your classroom, you will learn patience. Don't forget what it's like to know nothing about the subject you teach. And it's okay if you don't get any awards in college, or if you finally realize that you haven't been giving your best effort academically up until this point in time. I understand. But from this point forward, you have the biggest and most the biggest job and the most responsibility of anyone in the world. You will be in a classroom and you will be working a job that you love. You will work harder than any other point in your life. But be nice to yourself and be nice to your professors. They want the best for you. They are excellent resources because they've been there and they've done that a million times. Be supportive of your peers. And remember that everyone you meet along your teaching journey will have an impact on your life. And honestly, as the line from my favorite musical Wicked says, I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn. We are led to those who help us most to grow. If we let them and help them in return, and I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know who I am today is because I knew you. I have been changed for good. I want to challenge you to remember us before I and we before me, and that every student deserves the opportunity to learn and be loved. I want you to see who changes you every day. What impacts you? Are you going to be the person who changes your students for good? I'm willing to bet that it's probably going to be the opposite. Your students will impact you more than you will ever know. It's a joy to watch students learn and grow and make mistakes and get up after they failed. Not only in the classroom, but after they graduate. Like Caitlin, a former student and future educator who is being inducted tonight. I'm so proud of you. It's moments like that that make it all worth it. In the following video, I hope you see the next generation of educators. They're not just in this room with you, but they are in this video. Your world is a classroom, but it's up to you to foster a joy for learning within every person you meet on your teaching journey. I can't wait to see and hear about all of the wonderful things that you and your students accomplish. Thank you.
Music is my joy.
Music is home.
Music is family.
Music saved my life.
Before choir, I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. But ever since I joined choir, it made me feel special, like I was a part of a family.
I wouldn't trade this for any other sport, and I definitely wouldn't trade it for any other school activity. This is my family, this is my home. It's where I grow.
Because no matter what kind of day I'm having or what's going on in my family or outside of school, if my heart is just broken from a boy or whatever, choir just really, it makes me smile and it makes me happy. If you sing one song and the way we all just sound together, just the beauty of the music makes me so happy, and I just want to share that happiness with everyone else, and choir gives me the chance to do that.
Music helps me find the words I can't say.
Life must have music.
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 Thank you so much, Hannah, for coming to greet our teacher candidates in the School of Education here at the University of Mississippi. And thanks so much for your wonderful advice and words of encouragement. We are proud of you, and please know you inspire all of us who are working with children across the state of Mississippi. Again, thank you so much for joining us. At this time, we will begin our induction ceremony. First, Dr. Alicia Stapp will be discussing the professional dispositions for our teacher candidates and the Mississippi Code of Ethics.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Dr. Alicia Stapp, and I'm an associate professor in the Department of Teacher Education. So I am here to speak to you today about the importance and the seriousness of your current and future role as an educator. My purpose is to remind you of not just the instructional responsibilities that beholds you on this journey, but also the professional responsibilities that you are expected to uphold and will be evaluated on from this point on as a pre-service and future in-service teacher. Why, might you ask, is this so essential for you to hear about today? Well, the key to quality and efficiency in any profession is the ability to display professional characteristics. Professionalism has been described as the conduct, aims, or qualities that characterize or mark a profession. Based on the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and the standards of conduct, ethical conduct is any conduct which promotes the health, safety, welfare, discipline, and morals of students and colleagues. Conversely, unethical conduct is any conduct that impairs the teacher's ability to function in his or her employment position, or a pattern of behavior that is detrimental to the health, safety, welfare, discipline, or morals of students and colleagues. To ensure that the University of Mississippi's teacher candidates uphold all of the expectations set forth in the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics, a state committee comprised of educator preparation program faculty realigned the University of Mississippi's teacher candidates' expected professional dispositions with the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics 2 years ago. All teacher candidates across the state are held up to the same professional dispositions and are evaluated accordingly. The purpose of this realignment was to ensure adherence to the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics, university and district policies. The professional disposition instrument that you see up here on the screen and should have seen prior to today is administered at least 2 times. Domains 1 and 2 are administered during EDCI 352, which is pre-candidacy, by the course instructor, and domains 1, 2, and 3 during candidacy by clinical instructors, supervisors, and/or education preparation faculty. So you will see this again. And seniors who are about to enter as in-service teachers, you too will continue to be reminded of the Mississippi Code of Ethics that underpins our profession in the field. As a representative of the University of Mississippi School of Education, we expect that all of you in the field and also going into the field uphold the standards of the teaching profession through the 6 professional dispositions that I'm about to put up here on the screen. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at these dispositions and also what is expected of you. I will go over some positive examples and also some non-examples of behaviors that align with each professional disposition. And while I will say teacher candidate, please understand that these dispositions will also be expected of you once you become an in-service teacher. Disposition number 1, the teacher candidate protects confidential information concerning students and/or colleagues unless the law requires disclosure. So an example of this is keeping information about students' academic records private. A non-example of this is keeping or posting student work with students' names visible on any form of social media. Disposition number 2. The teacher candidate demonstrates maturity and sound judgment in all interactions with peers, university, and K-12 personnel and parents. Some examples of this include responding to communication from clinical instructors, university instructors, and supervisors in a timely manner, and being present and really engaged during all of your university class sessions. A non-example of this disposition is being inattentive by wearing earbuds at inappropriate times and or using a cell phone or computer at inappropriate times. Failing to meet deadlines or submit coursework, and failing to respond to communication in a timely manner or not responding at all. So those are all non-examples of that particular disposition. Disposition number 3, the teacher candidate follows all university and K-12 school policies, including but not limited to policies for alcohol, drug, tobacco, and social media use. Examples of this disposition include properly signing in and out of the school building and also dressing professionally, while non-examples include arriving late to any field experience and not communicating with students, parents, colleagues, or university supervisor, faculty in a timely and or professional manner. Moving on to disposition number 4. The teacher candidate exemplifies honesty and integrity with all stakeholders during his or her time in the program. So you can display this disposition by speaking in positive terms about the teaching profession and by speaking in positive terms regarding the students in your field experience placement, or for in-service teachers about those who are in your classroom. You are not displaying this professional disposition when you participate in gossip about students and or school personnel, post inappropriate messages and images on social media networks, or violate student confidentiality. Disposition number 5, the teacher candidate accepts constructive criticism in a positive manner. Positive examples of this disposition include seeking advice and feedback from university instructors, supervisors, and clinical instructors, and then integrating feedback into curriculum planning and instruction and accepting feedback openly and graciously. This disposition is not displayed when you do not modify your lessons and pedagogy based on relevant feedback, when you ignore, refuse, or deflect feedback about work or behaviors, or use social media as a means to share feelings or disagreement of rejection or criticism. Disposition number 6 is the teacher candidate provides fair and equitable opportunities for all K-12 students in a non-discriminatory manner. Examples of this are planning instruction that's inclusive, it's culturally sensitive, and it establishes a positive classroom environment. Non-examples of this disposition are planning narrow, one-size-fits-all instruction, using offensive or derogatory language, and tolerating bullying behaviors by students. Disposition number 7. The teacher candidate maintains a professional relationship with all students, inside and outside professional settings. You can meet this disposition by really getting to know your students and their families, their cultures, and providing opportunities for all students or parents to be able to share about themselves. Non-examples of this disposition include using any form of electronic communication to harass, threaten, or endanger students, or engaging in unprofessional relationships with students and or parents. It is important to keep in mind that all of these dispositions, as you move through your practicum, your student teaching, and once you are in service or you are in the field as an in-service teacher. I know I'm preaching to the choir here because how you conduct yourselves in the schools is the reason why we continue to be invited back year after year to our wonderful partner schools, and also why so many of our student teachers continue to be hired by our partner schools. However, just to note that if there is an issue with professionalism or the professional dispositions that I outlined here, while you are a student in the School of Education, as an education major, please note that a disposition will be given, okay? This is done so through the assessment system. For a first-time disposition, the protocol is that you meet with the instructor and discuss ways to improve the behavior. And if the situation is fixed, then that's the end of it, right? If a second issue does arise and a second disposition is given, you will be called in front of a committee who will then determine your fate in the program. And of course, we're only letting you know this because we do take the profession seriously. And please know that you have a very important job ahead of you, all of you. With that being said, I know that each and every one of you have the ability to live out positive behavior patterns in front of your students that they're going to carry with them for years to come. And that is what we know we will hear from all of your supervisors, your clinical instructors, and your principals in the years to come. This evidence is even in the research. The Barna Research Group, after family members and teenagers, listed teachers and coaches as the most influential figures in their lives. Each and every day, you are going to work to positively shape and mold the lives of young minds by teaching them valuable lessons, many of which are done so through the professional dispositions that you will display to your students. And these lessons definitely go beyond books and computers. By deciding to become a teacher, you are going to have the unparalleled opportunity to influence and foster positive behaviors in those who will lead the way in the future and make the decisions that will affect the course of the world. Therefore, I charge you, all of you, to go forth, to learn, to grow, to share, to experience, inquire, inspire, and most importantly, to be there each and every day for every student. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stapp. Now we will continue our ceremony. Other faculty members conducting the ceremony today are Dr. Tom Brady, Assistant Chair of Teacher Education and Program Coordinator for Secondary Education. Dr. Alan Bellman, Professor in Secondary Mathematics. Dr. Virginia Moore, Coordinator of the Elementary Education Program in Teacher Education and Associate Professor in Elementary Education. Dr. Sarah Platt, Clinical Assistant Professor of Special Education and Assistant Director of Assessment. Dr. Bellman.
Inductees, we're united in a profession whose purpose and challenge is to inspire young and old to grow by using their heritage, to develop a concern for the needs of others, to strengthen moral character and personality so that collectively as educators, we may be worthy examples of a rich, wholesome life. To these purposes and challenges in firm faith, we devote our lives.
So to teach, that our words inspire a will to learn. So to serve, that each new day may enhance the growth of exploring minds. So to live, that we may guide the young and the old to know the truth and love the right. To the fulfillment of these objectives, we pledge our efforts and our faith.
We will now share the Professional Educator Creed with you. As a professional educator, we believe that education is a noble profession with the power to transform lives and empower human beings to thrive and improve our democratic society and diverse changing world. We help change the world and create our future. We understand the unique privilege and accept the great responsibility that comes with this charge. To the best of our abilities, we will provide rich, meaningful, engaging, and challenging experiences that empower the whole person to think, communicate, and interact so they can improve their lives and the lives of others.
It is our privilege and honor to congratulate you and to welcome you into the profession of teacher education in the School of Education at the University of Mississippi.
For our closing remarks, we will hear from Dr. Denise Serez. Dr. Serez is Director of Graduate Studies, Special Education Program Coordinator, and Associate Professor of Special Education. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Serez.
Carl Menninger once said, "What the teacher is perhaps more important than what he or she teaches." So as you move forward, navigate the paths, accept the challenge, listen to the voices, and have faith and inspire your future students. Have a passion for teaching, as you can have an impression that can make a difference. You will experience the swirls of standards and expectations, a frenzied collision of assessments and impending achievements, but have hope for the future possibilities and accept the challenge for balance. After all, we are not superheroes. Pursue the field of education with an open heart and explore the nuances, but remember your humanity makes you perfect for the role. Inspire and make an imprint. Know the perks are intrinsic, as nothing compares to being an influence in so many lives. Give your students the life skills to take on the world. You are taking a chance, but teachers change lives. You are a future teacher that will help students realize their future potential. It's time for some new stories of great learning, and it begins with you. Go be awesome. This concludes our induction ceremony into teacher education. So from all of us to all of you, congratulations.